Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is part of the Altenew 2019 blog hop as I am taking part of their new release of stamps, dies, and stencils, and there's beautiful design. This layout is going to feature the dotted bloom stamp set and die, and this was probably my favorite one from the release as it's very delicate and very easy to work with. There's so much you can do with it. And what I have did outside of the camera is actually gonna show you the steps that I follow, but I did a lot of the work ahead of time because I already had an idea. So what I'm gonna do is stamp the outline using black ink, but I also use some of the gray Altenew inks to stamp some of the outlines because I want to create a difference in color. So this, I'm just gonna go show you what I'm doing right now. I'm just stamping some of the outlines onto white cardstock. And this stamp set is super easy to work with. One, because the flower is kept very white, so you're going to stamp the outline. And then you can use the coordinating ink cubes. I'm using the ink cubes in this case. They're kind of in a color family just to bring the color to the flowers. And all it does is stamp a few, like a small outline around some of the petals just to bring a little bit of the color. What is great about it is this stamp set is that you can customize it. As in, you can add color to whatever you like, but I really wanted to keep it really white and bring some tones of red onto the flowers. And the reason why I'm using red, I'm not a fan of red, is because I am going to document a picture of my kids. Last year, we took them to see the cherry blossoms here in Toronto. There's a festival we hadn't been before, and we took them because everything was white. It was so beautiful. So I have quite a bit of pictures from that outing. And my daughter is wearing a black shirt with red writing on it. So I'm going to bring some of those tones into the flowers to bring the colors in the picture. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just using the stamp set just to detail the flower, in this case the flower branch. And it's very easy to follow. It's actually one of the easiest stamps that I've used from Altenew. They're all easy, but this one was super easy to work. So it made it really fast to create a lot of branches in a very short amount of time. And as you're going to see, I'm taking advantage, like I said, of the family of crisp inks, to create the branches. And then I'm going to use the dies that I have, the coordinating dies, just to cut them. And like I said, because it was so easy to stamp, I was able to stamp quite a bit ahead of time. And I used black ink for the outline, and also some gray ink because I wanted a difference in the colors. So you're going to see that I'm going to bring the little container that I have with all the flowers that are already stamped ahead of time, and also the picture that I'm planning to document. And this is going to be a very simple layout, and you're going to see that I've stamped quite a bit of the images, but it is going to work. And that's the picture that I'm going to document. My kids are actually standing by a tree, and there's the branches of the tree hitting their faces. I love it. So what I'm going to use, it's watercolor paper, and what I love about this watercolor paper is that it's bound on the all sides, so it's not gonna bend when I'm adding water. So my idea is to create a wreath, and for that I'm just using one of my kitchen bowls to create the circle in the middle where I'm gonna work around. And my first idea was to just add some of the watercolor. I'm gonna use the Altenew watercolor, some green tones around the wreath, just to bring some of just to create like kind of the greenery from the picture, and also like the trees. But as I was working, you're gonna see I didn't actually edit this part just to show you what I'm doing. Even though I love watercolor, I was not liking the idea of having white, then just the wreath around it, and then have the rest white. So my choice is, before I continue, I just using quite a bit of water, I'm just gonna dilute it and kind of create a wash on the entire page, not in the circle that I drew with the pencil. So I'm just gonna leave the circle white, and I'm just gonna lightly give a coat of green to the entire page so that it has a white circle in the middle and is all like a light tone of green. And I thought my idea was this is gonna make everything pop because I'm using a lot of black and white, a little bit of red, and also the picture. So having a background that is a color background is going to make everything stand out. So once I add the wash of the green watercolor to the entire background, making sure that I keep my circle or my center white, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of add a little bit of splatters or darken the area where I'm going to put the flowers, just so that they stand a little bit more, so that there's a little bit more definition, and it kind of defines the area where I'm adding the watercolor. Now to do that, all I'm going to do is actually use a little bit, since everything is already damp from the water that I used for the wash, I'm just gonna add a little bit of the pigment. I'm gonna actually bring my mister bottle and just add a little bit of water, like a little mist of water, and then just add, kind of tap the watercolor onto the damp piece of paper, and it's the watercolor is just kind of just diffuse on its own. And I'm gonna take some time to complete the entire circumference that I created with the pencil. So I'm gonna use pretty much all the tones of green that are in the watercolor set from Altenew to create a different variation of colors around the circle that I created, and kind of that's where I'm gonna place my wreath. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna show you a little bit, and I'm gonna take it off camera because I don't want to bore you with the same. It's pretty much the same process throughout the entire wreath. And I'm gonna set this aside to dry. It did take a little while to dry because it's watercolor paper, and I wanted to make sure that it was completely dry before I take it out, so there's not that much warping on the paper. And that's one of the advantages of working with this paper pad, because it's bound on all sides, so it keeps it kind of a bit straighter than usually loose watercolor paper. So you're gonna see once that was drying, I went into the reflection skin and pulled a paper that had white and green stripes just to back the picture. I want to make sure that I bring some of that green because I want to make sure that the black and white flowers and also the picture are gonna stand out. So all I did is just glue the picture onto the piece of paper and trim around it. I just want to create a soft frame for it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start alternating the color of the flowers. I'm going to use one black, one gray, and I'm going to kind of build the wreath on one direction. So I'm going to place one, and then I'll continuously place flowers, sort of kind of tucking it underneath the previous one to create my circle. Once I have that in place, I am just gonna I'm just gonna cut the little stems a little bit because I don't want that they were getting cut when I was putting them together. So my solution was to cut a bit of the stems just to help me with the design, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue them. I'm just going to glue a part of the stem so to keep it in place. I already know that that's my design, and then after, you're going to see it after, I'm going to come in with some foam adhesive underneath some of the flowers just to give it some movement. You're going to see that I played quite a bit with some of the flowers. Once I had my wreath, I wanted to create movement, and like I said in the picture, I think you can see it right now, is there's quite a bit of branches with some buds and some flowers kind of hanging in front of my kids, and I wanted to bring that movement to the wreath. Even though I love the circle design of the layout, I wanted to create movement just because I love the movement of the flowers, and I think it's gonna help me tell the story of what we did that day. So you see right now, I'm just cutting the stems and just gluing them onto the layout, and I think I'm gonna take it off camera because I don't want to show you this repetitive motion. And then I'm just gonna start playing with some of the leftover stems. Like I said, I stamped, I'm gonna say a good 20 stems, if not more, of just to create this layout. And it was literally, this layout took me maybe 2 hours to put together, and that was because I had to wait for the watercolor to dry. Super easy to put together. So once I had all my wreath put together, I'm gonna go ahead and trim a little bit of the size of the watercolor. I am actually gonna glue it to a black and white piece of paper just to make it stand out. Now what I'm gonna do is add a piece of fan foam behind the picture just to pop it from all the flowers. Even though they're gonna be surrounded by flowers, I want to make sure that there's some lift, so there's it kind of stands out behind in front of the leaves. And then I pull this paper from my stash. It's just a black and white stripe that is gonna make everything, the flowers and my kids, because they're wearing black, stand out too. And after that, like I said, I'm gonna start working with my foam adhesive, and just adding some pop dots and some glue dots behind the flowers just to create some movement. So there's ones that I'm gonna add a thicker foam adhesive compared to other ones just to create movement. And then I'm gonna bring some of these flowers, and you're gonna see that not my perfect circle, but my circle is kind of start getting some movement. So my idea is to bring some of the little branches kind of coming into the picture and coming out of the picture, so it's gonna look more like a C at the end, just because the picture of my kid is right in the middle, so it's gonna end up looking as a C design. It looks like a C, the flowers, but I love the movement. And that's pretty much it. You're gonna see now that all my flowers are set in place. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the background onto the stripy black and white paper. And that's from Maggie Holmes from an old collection. It was in my stash. After that, I'm gonna bring these gold alphas. These are, I believe they're same thing. They're from a Maggie Holmes collection, but I'm gonna bring it because they had a teal backing. The foam that's backing it's teal, so I thought it was actually gonna kind of be hidden within the paper because I have all the green in the background. Now we're talking spring, so I'm gonna bring a butterfly, and like I mentioned before, this is the Altenew December release. All these acetate butterflies is actually my second pack because I love them so much. And then that's pretty much it. To bring a little bit more of the color, I am actually gonna bring some enamel dots, also from the Altenew release in December, because I love enamel dots. And I'm just gonna add a few of the dots around the area. And I'm just gonna bring a few simple embellishments. I'm gonna bring some from the Reflection Scrapbook Kit from Altenew and some from my stash, just a few more enamel dots and hearts. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna add the date, and then I'm gonna add a few lines of journal actually right underneath the picture between those two branches that are coming out of my kids' pictures. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna do. Because I added the gold foil in the flowers, sorry, in the alphas, in the title, I'm gonna add a few gold droplets, or gold ink droplets, sorry, around the entire wreath. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, this layout took no time to put together, and I love what it looks like. There's a lot of movement. I love this, probably one of my favorite stamp sets, and I hope you try it. If you have any questions on how this came together, don't hesitate to contact me, and don't forget to jump into my blog so you can join in the hop and have a chance to win some gift certificates to the Altenew store. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to check out Altenew for all the release. It's gorgeous. And thank you so much for being around. I'll see you next week. Take care.